if you just got an industrial sewing machine and you want to learn how to use it, or you are considering getting one day, this video is an excellent guide for you. Also, if you don't know which type of sewing machine to get, there's a complete sewing machine buyer's guide on this channel that you can check out. You're going to learn all the pros and cons and situations required for each type of sewing machine. So I will recommend that you go watch that video after this one. I'll drop the link in the description box. You're welcome to Kema Freak. I'm so glad to have you here. My name is Kemi Omorogbe and I am your instructor. Come closer, let's quickly go over the parts of the sewing machine. But before we move on to that, take safety precaution when you're using an electrical sewing machine like the industrial sewing machine. Make sure you are putting on your shoes as well, and don't put your hands near the needle when you are pedaling, because it can be very fast and easily injure your fingers, and we don't want that to happen. The machine we have right here is the 2-Lion direct drive sewing machine, but whichever industrial sewing machine you have, you will find this very helpful because there's just minor differences, nothing major. Because this is the direct drive type, it doesn't have the servo motor that we are used to, and it also has a little bit more enhanced feature that makes sewing generally easier. As opposed to the big servo motor, this is what you have on the direct drive industrial sewing machine, and this replaces the motor. So here we have the head of the machine, or what we call the head of the machine, which is the major component of the machine, and the stand. Now let's go over some of the things you will find on this machine head. Right here we have a screen. You can see I haven't even removed the nylon over it because this is a little bit over a year, although I went on a long break and I didn't use this for long. So here we have the hand wheel, or some call it balance wheel, that kind of controls the needle bar, makes it goes up and down. If you're used to a manual sewing machine, you should be used to some of these things. This is the stitch length dial that controls the length of the stitch. It is graded from 0 to 5, so you just have to decide on the length of the stitch you want, then come on here to set it. So in order to gain full control of this, you need to press this down and you'll be able to move this more easily. While for the servo motor industrial sewing machine, you need to press down the reverse stitch bar in order to gain full control of the stitch length dial. Right here is the reverse stitch bar. So if you are trying to perform a reverse stitch when sewing, this is what you pull down, and once you are done with the reverse stitch, you release it. No, you have to continue pressing down till you are done with the reverse stitch. Here is the major tension dial, where you control the tension of the thread you have going through it. This part controls the pressure of the sewing machine. For most average thickness of fabric, you may not have to manipulate this too much, but sometimes you're working with really thick fabric and you need to increase the pressure of the needle bar for it to sew properly. So come on here and do the work. There's a kind of window on here. It is transparent. What this does is that it allows you see the level of the oil. If the level of the oil is optimal, you will see some oil flashing through this. So it just kind of keeps you informed of the level of oil. If you don't see oil flashing through this, probably your machine oil isn't sufficient. In here you can see the foot of the sewing machine and also the feed dog. Just I hope you can see this properly, but the feed dog is somewhere here. In between this needle plate, you have the feed dog. There are some gradations here just to help you know how much seam allowance you are sewing by. Just behind the machine right here is a lever that helps you pull up the machine foot. So just as I'm pulling this, you can notice how it is raising this, but this is still not raising it as high as it should go sometimes, especially if you're working with a very thick fabric. It is advisable to make use of this pull up lever as opposed to the first one I showed you. So when sewing, your nail should be around here and it just kind of pushes this, and when you push this way, it raises the needle bar. So it raises it higher than what is obtainable with this other knob here. And I also noticed that this particular one behind the sewing machine breaks easily. So you may want to preserve it and use more of the one down here. There's an entire complex right here where you position your thread and just guide the thread till it gets to the sewing machine. It composes of this rod, this bar, and these two stands for the threads. You can make use of two threads, using one for threading the bobbin and this you are connecting to the sewing machine for sewing. So right here we have a kind of plate where you can position your threads and pins when sewing. Another feature which I have on this machine but I haven't seen in the Servomoto industrial sewing machine is this razor blade that kind of helps you cut your thread when you are threading the bobbin. Also, for some sewing machine you will find the switch here, and that's where you switch on and off your sewing machine. But for this particular sewing machine we have the switch just behind the wheel balance here, or the hand wheel. Right here you have the on and off button. Now we are moving on to fixing the needle of the industrial sewing machine. If you're familiar with the manual sewing machine, you will know that it uses the DP variant of needles, while the manual overlocking machine makes use of the DC type of needle, which is slightly shorter than the other needles. The industrial sewing machine makes use of the DB variant of needles. To fix or remove a needle, you can't just press a button and have it drop like you have in some domestic sewing machine. You will need this long screw to do that for you. So I always put this just at the drawer of the machine because I don't want stories that touch. You can also make use of another size of screwdriver, but I just prefer to make use of this long one. I think it makes the job easier. Now here is the needle bar and it houses the needle. First you need to pull up your needle like this, and you will notice a screw right here. So just position your screwdriver and unscrew to remove the needle. You don't need to unscrew completely because it just eases the needle, and you have this. Now, just like we have in the other needles, this one also has two sides. I call one the groovy side and the other one the plain side. So there's a part of the needle that has a groove, and that is the part that you have to put your thread through. So it should face the left of this machine. Now I'm going to insert this needle right back into the machine because it is just a very tiny needle. So just insert it into the needle bar and make sure that the groovy side is towards the left. If you don't position your needle very well, you're going to have issues sewing with it. Once you are fine with the direction of the needle, I don't know if you can see it. Yes, this is what we have, but I need to use this hand to hold it. Okay, so having done this, you can then go ahead and put in your screw and do the job. So make sure it is tight enough and you have this. Easy, right? Yeah. I know I mentioned the feed dog earlier on. This is where it is positioned, and it kind of controls the fabric when you are sewing. It moves the fabric forward or backward if you're performing a back stitch. Our needle is fixed right now, and we are going to talk about how to change your sewing machine foot. Maybe you have been performing a straight stitch and you want to try a gather's foot or a walking foot, whatever foot. You use the same method in removing the foot and replacing it with the one you want to insert. We are back here. Just like we have a screw for the needle right here, we have another screw here on the other side for the foot, and you still need this your beautiful large screwdriver. So all you need to do is to raise the foot of the sewing machine and unscrew this particular screw, and you have your foot out in no time. In order to insert this foot back or any other foot, you just raise the foot of your sewing machine, insert the foot, hold it with your other hand, and screw it back tightly. There we have it. Easy peasy, right? But not as easy as you have it in a domestic sewing machine. In case my lighting keeps fluctuating in this tutorial, I am making use of natural light mainly. The sun is doing its thing. In order to pedal this machine, of course, there is a foot pedal right here, but it is not the... Of course, I don't have to say that, right? It is not similar to what you have on a manual sewing machine. This machine is currently not on, and I know I already told you guys to put on a shoe, right? Okay, but this machine is not on, so I'm free to use my barefoot. So this is the pedal right here. In order to pedal on this machine, of course, your machine has to be put on, and then you position your foot. I love making use of just one of my foot. I don't know if there's anybody that uses the two. How does that work for you? Maybe, I'm sure it will work, right? I'm going to have a completely different video that will put you through threading this machine, because I don't want this to be too long. So this is generally how to use this machine, and I'll have a very detailed video on how to thread it and how to, you know, dial your tension. So if you want to watch that video, I'll drop the video above, or you can check the link in the description box for that. I find that for this particular machine, I don't necessarily need the hand wheel. No, not necessarily, but just because I'm used to it. But with the 7 motor type of industrial machine, you always need to turn the hand wheel towards you gradually to gain a little control on the foot. It just helps it not to jump start, in my opinion. So that's done. You position your fabric or whatever you are sewing right here. You have lowered the needle bar and the foot is sitting on your cloth. For this, you don't necessarily need the hand wheel, like I mentioned. And the control right here, we have the program and then we have the speed. To control the speed of this sewing machine, all you have to do is press on this speed, and then go ahead to dial the speed you want. It increases by 100. So we have 13, 14, 15, and so on and so forth. The list of the speed is 200. And then let's check the highest, because I've never gone that far. Okay, 3,700. Although I'm not sure of the units. Please go ahead and read the manual of your sewing machine properly to know how to operate all of this. So yeah, once you're done controlling the stitch, you can press on here. Okay, also I think there are some automatic controls here. So you have program 1, program 2, program 3, but you have to program it first, I think. So I will just leave it at program 1. Okay, so yeah, to understand this part of it properly, please read the manual of your own sewing machine. So this will tell you the default position of the needle, this dial right here. So you can press on it, you see that the needle goes in. The needle in this picture goes in. Come closer. The needle in this picture goes in, and if you press it again, it's showing that the needle came up. Okay, so that means once you put on your machine, the needle is going to be out. And for the other setting, once you put on the sewing machine, you meet the needle going into the outfit or whatever you're doing. So I prefer to leave it at this state. Also, you need to dial the stitch length of your sewing machine. Just come on here and, you know, put the stitch length where you want it to be. From 4 and 5, you want very long stitches. 3 for like medium length stitches, while 0 to 3, in between 0 to 3, you have like tiny stitches. So depending on what you're working on or how you want your project to look, you can decide on the stitch length. There is no harm in practicing before deciding. In case I didn't mention it, this is a 2 Lion TL9900D, so 9900D. So once you are done with all the setting, all you need to do is to, you know, apply a little pressure on this. You don't have to go all the way. So you just need this to go down a little bit, and then it will keep sewing. If you're using the 7 motor type of sewing machine that doesn't have a speed dial, the more you press on, the faster the machine becomes. So yeah, you have to take it very gradually. On this machine, if you want your needle to just go in and out at once, so there's a control right here where you can do that. Right here. You see that? Just see that. Also, this house is the switch for the light. Okay, this machine has a little light you can use here if you're in a dark place and you need to see what you're doing properly. So you just put on the switch for the light, put it off once you're not using it. But one of the reasons why I love this machine is that you can control the speed of the machine. So if you are a beginner and you're not used to an industrial sewing machine, this will be very easy for you to use, because you can slow down the machine and increase the speed when you need to. It is recommended that you change the oil of your industrial sewing machine every 3 to 6 months, but it actually depends on the intensity of your usage. For myself, I change it between 3 months to 6 months. To drain your oil and to fill it in with a new one, here's what you do. There's usually a stand just behind the machine to help you support the head of the machine, but mine isn't properly fixed just yet. But let's see what we can do. You need to raise the head of the machine this way and make it rest on that support system. This is mobile, so you can always push this away. So it is resting on its support system right here, so I can see the oil in this machine. Here we have it. If you look closely, you will see high and then low. The level of your machine oil should be in between the low and the high. Once it's above the high, you know that you have added too much machine oil, and if it is below the low mark, you know that you should refill. I'll be draining the oil I have right here. It's somewhere between high and low as it should be, but whenever you're ready to drain your oil, you're going to have to lose this screw right here. And before you completely lose it, make sure you put something below the machine just to catch the oil you're draining, so you don't soil the floor and yourself. So here's a kind of filter that filters the machine, and the oil just goes through here to work on every other part of the sewing machine. These 2 threads right here are there for a purpose. Make sure that they are touching your machine oil. Please don't cut it off. It's more like a wick, the type you have in lamps that just sucks in the oil and makes the fire keep burning. That is what these 2 ropes are doing right here. I recommend cleaning up your machine after every project just to give you a clean start, and that includes the head, the entire head of the sewing machine, this part of the machine where you have your fabric threads lying around. Most importantly, the needle bar area, the feed dog, because that can completely affect the nature of your stitch. In order to open this needle plate, you can make use of either one of these screwdrivers. Actually, this also works for fixing your needle and for other functions. So I will just use this to unscrew. Okay, so you unscrew the needle plate to expose the feed dog. You can actually unscrew the feed dog as well for more detailed cleaning, but it's not necessary to always do that. So I'm opening up this and also raising. This is the point where you need something that will permanently raise the needle bar. So you remove this and then you make use of your brush to clean in between the feed dog. You can see mine is neat already. Yeah, that's what we have right here. So that's how you open this up to clean up this area. Now let me fix it back. You just put back your plate and screw it back, then close it up. Note that the direct drive industrial sewing machine consumes less power, less energy than the servo motor type, but the servo motor type is actually more powerful. It is generally stronger and can withstand better fluctuations, electrical fluctuations. But with this, you need to make sure it is connected to a secured power line. You can make use of an electronic guide or even a stabilizer just to ensure that you have the right quantity of energy going into this, so you don't destroy the electrical part of the machine. With this, we have come to the end of this video. Please watch out on the video on how to thread the industrial sewing machine. I'm sure you're going to find that very insightful. If you also like me to make a video on the differences between the servo motor industrial sewing machine and the direct drive industrial sewing machine, let me know in the comment section. Thank you for watching once again. See you in the next video. Bye.